Welcome to RidgeLife. I'm Tim, and today we're going to be putting out swarm traps here on the ridge. For our swarm trap today, we're going to be using the Pro-Nuc by bpros.com. Predominantly, the Pro-Nuc is used to start a new nucleus colony. It is set up for 5 frames. These are deep frames. It has a lot more features as well I'd like to go over. On the top, you can see a pop bottle feeder connection and a 1-gallon feeder connection. And to do that, you just slit the little grooves out here, insert your pop bottle or your gallon feeder, and the bees can be fed from the top. Another really nice feature is the way the lid can be turned for the non-vented and vented connections. It actually says, whichever the word is on the opening here, this says vented. And what that does, you can see these holes here, and there are buttons at the bottom here, and they'll line up to either plug or open up to vent the top. Another really nice feature is the openings. So when you want to transport your swarm you caught or your nucleus, you can close your entrances. And then when you want to open it up to be able to have the bees come and go as they please, you lock it in that position. This keeps the rain out, and it's vented, and the bees will fly up here and enter. And there is an entrance on both sides. So today we're going to be using this again as a swarm trap. So I've set it up with 5 frames. These are pre-waxed frames. So it's springtime, and all the flowers and trees are blooming, and the bees are bringing in nectar and pollen. You see the colonies behind us. It's a cool day today, so you don't see too many flying. It was a perfect opportunity for me to get out here and make these swarm traps. So the bees are coming and going this time of the year, and it's going to be a situation where they're going to want to split themselves or swarm. The old queen will take half the bees and leave the colony. Okay, the colony will have raised a new queen, and she'll stay there with the remaining half. The swarming process, where your colony splits into 2 colonies, where one half flies off and one half stays, that is a natural process. You can help reduce the tendency of your colony to swarm by giving them ample space. If the queen has no room to lay eggs, the colony is going to want to swarm. They'll want to split so they can have more room for the existing colony, and the new colony will find a better place to live. They'll send scouts out, and once they find that place, half that colony with the old queen will go take up that place. Usually what happens is half will leave with a queen, and they'll find a tree, like a pine tree behind me, and they'll get about 15, 18 feet up in the sky, and they'll ball around her while the scouts are out looking for their new home. So when the scouts find their new home, the ball of bees and the queen, they all fly. You may see 30,000 bees flying through the air. That's why they call it a swarm. 30,000 bees flying through the air going to their new home. And more often than not, they may fly from one place to the next until they get to where they want to be. So when we're doing our hive inspections, we want to make sure that the colony is not honey bound, meaning all the frames are full of honey or nectar, and there's no place for the queen to lay. We also obviously want to make sure that she doesn't have every frame full of brood. Usually the outside frames will be for honey, and the inside frames will have the brood. And you'll see eggs in the cells, you'll see larvae, or you'll see cat brood. And that cat brood can be drones, which are the boy bees. Now, boy bees serve one purpose, and that's to mate with a queen. When they need drone, they'll make drone. They usually make a lot of drones in the springtime just to make sure, if they're going to swarm, they're going to have drones available. And then if they need an emergency queen, obviously they're going to need some drones too. Drones don't sting. They're larger bees, and they really, again, serve no purpose. And then in the fall, the female bees, the worker bees, they'll kill all the drones and push them out of the hive. Now the worker bees and scout bees, they're there taking care of the queen, taking care of the hive. They're flying out, getting the nectar, bringing in the pollen. They're taking care of that hive throughout the year. So the scouts that are out looking for places to live, we want to attract them to our swarm trap. To attract those scout bees to our swarm trap, we're going to be using Swarm Commander today. Swarm Commander is a mixture of lemongrass and the natural bee pheromone that attracts the bees to a new location. The Swarm Commander mixture supposedly mimics that pheromone that the queen puts out. It's not just lemongrass, it's other ingredients, again, to be a premium swarm lure. So what we're going to do today is we're going to take these two swarm traps out, and I've got tree stands out in the woods. Now you can see our two colonies behind us. One of them, hive number 1 right here, is just kicking it, taking names. Both those deeps are full. We've got a super on there that's probably about full, and I need to add another one. Hive number 2 is a smaller hive. It's probably not going to swarm. It has lots of room, and it was just a first-year hive, started last year. This hive here, it's been going 2 years here, starting its 3rd year, and it's just going like gangbusters. If I don't do something, that thing's going to swarm. For swarm prevention, I talked about maximizing space for the queen to lay. Well, eventually she's going to run out of space in the 2 deeps you have, whether you're using 8-frame hives or 10-frame hives. So another option to do is a split. And there's many types of splits and a bunch of videos out there, and I'll have one in the future as well. But we're not going to do a split today, but I am going to want to catch a swarm. So just in case this hive swarms before I'm ready to do a split, I'm going to have these 2 swarm traps out. One out in the woods right here. I've got a tree stand not too far away, and it's going to be elevated. And then I've got another tree stand on this side that's elevated. Those 2 tree stands will provide perfect locations to catch these swarms. I had mentioned swarming is a natural process, so there are many wild honeybee colonies out here in the woods, and they're going to be swarming also because the log, the tree, or whatever they're residing in is going to run out of space for them, and they're going to be swarming. So I really want to catch those swarms out there. I don't want my colonies to swarm. When you set your captured swarm up at the new location in your apiary, you're going to want to make sure you start with 1 deep. Now, they're going to fill that up quickly, so if you're using an 8 or 10 frame and you had 5 in here, when they get about 80% full, you're going to want to put that 2nd deep on there. Now, there's a possibility that if you collected your swarm soon enough in the season, that they're going to fill up your full deep and maybe your 2nd deep, and you may actually be able to collect honey. Now, my first hive, I did not collect honey on it when I first started it. I wanted to make sure that it could get through the winter. It got through the winter just fine. The 2nd colony I started with, I did collect honey off of it, and I had to make sure throughout the winter that it was still had ample food stores. The choice whether to collect honey off your newly established beehive colony is really up to you. You need to have a lot of experience, and you need to practice and get in your hives and learn as much as you can those first few weeks of beekeeping. We're going to be taking these nucleus boxes, our swarm traps, out to location soon, and I'll show you how to set them up and secure them, and also show you how to use the Swarm Commander. But when you get your, if you do capture a swarm, you're going to want to make sure it stays there, close off the entrances, and you can bring it back to the location. When you bring it back to the location, in the evening, when all your bees are inside the swarm trap, you're going to want to keep it closed up. When you're ready to open the opening, I would put branches or brush in front of the opening that you give it. What that's going to do is when the bees fly out, they're going to orient. They don't have a direct path in and out. They're going to orient to that new location. That's going to be their GPS coordinates to go to their new home. Now, there's many ways to do the processes I'm talking about today, and I'm not going to say my way is the right way because I'm very new at this, so make sure you get a mentor with your local bee club or just in your local area, because your mentor, a guy or gal who's been doing this for many, many years, is going to know these tricks. Now, again, one bee mentor's way is not ever going to be the same as another bee mentor's way. Not that either of them are wrong, it's just the way they do it and they've had success. You can find the way to do it and have success on your own as well. I would strongly suggest you take their suggestions into account because it has been successful for them, and there's been many a new beekeeper to lose all their colonies their first year. One more important thing to mention for new beekeepers is always start with 2 colonies. Don't just buy 1 package or 1 nucleus. Do 2. What that will do for you, it'll give you something to compare against. Because if this hive is not doing very well, is not healthy, and this hive is thriving, you'll be able to see that in the 2 hives. If you only had 1, you really wouldn't know the difference. Another good thing is if that 1 hive you have becomes queenless, you can take a frame of eggs, fresh laid eggs from your banging hive, and bring it over to your queenless hive, and they will make an emergency queen cell. We can sit here all day and talk about beekeeping because there's a lot to learn and a lot to do and so much fun things to experience with beekeeping. Let's get these swarm traps out in the woods. How about that? We're in a tree stand about 100 yards from our hives. Now, I'm gonna strap the hive to the seat here. So I can get up here and I can work off the platform and work these bees if they came up here. I can do inspections and I can reapply the swarm commander if I need to. So one of the first things I'm going to do is make sure that the lid is set up for the vented position because we're in a warm climate here, and I'm going to make sure that we don't get any moisture develop on the top of the roof because moisture will kill all your bees. Next thing I want to do is make sure I set my entrance. I'm going to leave the back closed and just have the front entrance open. Now it's got a vent on it, but this will be the only entrance to and from this hive. The reason I'm limiting the entrance is wasps and hornets and all those nasty creatures will try to come in here and attack a new colony. Having one small entrance allows them an area to defend, and a few bees can defend a small entrance. Before I strap my swarm trap down, I need to apply my swarm commander. I'm going to use a Q-tip in the little vial. I'm going to apply a little bit on the entrance first. You don't want to apply too much swarm commander in one location because it can actually act as a repellent to your bees. I'll apply the swarm commander here, get this one strapped down. On the next one, I'll show you a close-up of how I apply the swarm commander. I'm going to position the swarm trap with the entrance to the east-southeast. The sun comes up obviously in the east and it warms up the colony, and they'll start to go out and fly in and out, and they like a warm sunny entrance. Want to make sure your swarm trap is secure pretty good in your elevated location. You don't want an animal to get up here and move it and knock it down. We're all good here. I've got the entrance to the east, southeast. We're secured. Coming down, I'll show you a close-up of how to apply the swarm commander. So you may be asking yourself why we're putting it up so high. The swarms, when they leave the colony, they tend to be at chest high or higher, usually 15 feet or so. You'll see a large swarm, a ball of bees up in a tree. If you're lucky, they may be at chest or head height, but more often than not, they're going to be high where you can't get to them. Putting them in a tree stand like this simulates that height they like, makes it easy for us to get to them. So now I'm going to show you a closer up view of how to apply your swarm commander. Just take one vial per application. Take your lid off. You got to make sure you've got your opening set. Make sure it's locked in place. We have 5 frames, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. These are all, again, pre-waxed, deep frames. The reason we use black frames, or I prefer black frames, is whenever you're looking for eggs, the white egg will contrast off a black background. So the bees will build up the comb, but with the back being black, I can look in there and see the eggs, whereas if I use yellow, it's harder to see the eggs. So what I want to do is, over my frames, open my vial. Okay, make sure you don't spill it. There's not much in here. Put my Q-tip down there. Make sure not to overflow. I'm going to put some across the top of the frames. And you're not doing much. Go back and forth so the top is... Okay, now make sure I get save enough for the entrance here. So for the entrance, I'm putting it right along that entrance area there. Make sure, and it smells so good like lemons. Okay. Okay, so it should be good all along the entrance there. Get what little I have left, put again on the top of the frames. I'm going to put the Q-tip down this side and this vial on this side. Put my vented roof on in the vented position. We're ready to secure this to our stand. Again, I've got this one nice and secure. Animals can't get to it, or at least move it out of the way. They can't get the lid off. Now, the vents on these Pro-Nucs are kind of open on the sides, and a really hard rain may get some moisture in there. I may come back and cover up these vents a little bit, just to make sure we don't get any moisture blowing in there from being out in the wild like this. Hope everyone enjoyed watching us set up our swarm traps. This is our first season of trying to catch swarms. We spent the last couple seasons, learning beekeeping and making sure that those colonies thrived. We're doing well there now. We're going to get some more honey soon, but we want to catch a swarm, at least one swarm, to get our third colony going. So if you have any questions at all, please comment. You can join our Facebook page and ask questions on Messenger. Email me. My email is on my About page on YouTube. And I really want to see your comments. Please subscribe to our channel. Hit the notification bell to be updated on any new content that gets put out there. So until next time, I hope everyone has a blessed day. Go RidgeLife.